Testing, testing. Looks good. Hello and welcome to the Streaming Parson plays the Quintessential Quintuplets, Memories of a Quintessential Summer. And today, we are going to finish this game, since we're basically at the end. I only have like probably a little bit less than half of the Raiha route left to play. And then I will just give my final thoughts on the game and talk about the game and ramble for about like half an hour on my thoughts of the entirety of the game. And so that's going to be today's stream. It's not going to be a long one today, I don't think. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's not going to be a long stream today. But that's fine. We're just going to finish this game and then play something else on Thursday. So that's the plan for today. Let's just dive into it. So last time, we started the Raiha route. And basically, Raiha's route is her trying to get her brother to start taking the girls seriously as women and flirt with them a bit. But, you know, Raiha's like 12, so her advice can't be that great. And at first, like, that's definitely the case. Like, her advice is terrible. And, like, the sisters start feeling weird around Futaro. But of course, like, after Futaro goes a little bit too hard and passes out, the sisters start worrying about him, and it goes back to basically factory reset, where like, oh yeah, like they obviously do care about him. They're all in love with him for his, like, when he's himself, basically. And now we've just kind of like, I ended last stream with them like kind of hitting that point where they're like, okay, things are going back to normal. We're just gonna celebrate the last day on this island together and just hang out like we normally do, kind of thing. Okay, let's look back in the text a little bit. Yeah, so basically, we're on the last day, and they're going to go to the beach again, but did not do it with like Futaro forcing himself to try and act flirty with them, but rather just be himself. Is that so? Well then, let's do our best for each other.
任せて。お兄ちゃん。お腹いっぱい。もう食べられない。
Right, they had like a massive barbecue at the beach. That's what they were doing.
ちょっと食休み。では、この残っているデザートはいただいてしまいますね。あんた、まだ入るの？そこはほら、いつきちゃんだから。
Bruh, don't say it like that.
ライハちゃん食べますか？どうぞ遠慮しないでください。そうじゃなくて、私どうしたの？私が余計なことしたせいで楽しかったバカンスの最後を変な雰囲気にしちゃって。
I thought you already came clean about this. I mean, we didn't see it. But there's the part where like Raiha cried in front of the sisters because she knew that like Futaro passing out earlier in the story was her fault. And I thought at that time she came clean with the sisters, but maybe she's gonna say it again or something, I don't know.
本当にごめんなさい。本当にいい子ですね、ライハちゃん。ギューってしたいです。わあ、したいじゃなくてしてるじゃない。ほら、苦しそうだからそのくらいにしなさいよ。もう気にしてないからね。何度も謝らなくていいんだよ。もう忘れてたしね。このバカンスは最後にバーベキューをして楽しかったという思い出で締めくくられましたよ。本当にフー君にはもったいないわね。四つ葉が妹にしたいって気持ちもわかるわ。よしよし。
It's a weird way of saying that. Raiha's really wasted on Fukan, isn't she? It's a weird way of saying that. Like basically Nino saying something along the lines of like, you know, she's really devoted to him, like devoted to her brother. But that was a weird, like the translation's a little bit weird. Like she's wasted on him. I think like you could have just been like, see, because like devotion, it doesn't quite get it either. It's almost like fanatic. Like Nino's poking fun at like Raiha's almost like fanatical about her love for her brother. It's kind of like the way of what Nino was actually trying to convey. It's just weirdly translated here. I don't know. I just thought it was weird.
じゃあ私もよしよし。そんなみんなからよしよしされるようなことなんてしてないのに。それはライハちゃんがとっても素敵な子だからですよ。許されるなら本当の妹にしたいです。私もライハちゃんみたいな妹がいたら。
You know, there is a way of doing that.
私もみんなのことお姉さんって呼んでみたいな。
I don't know about that one though.
どうかした？
Okay, so what was being conveyed there and the sister's reaction is that like, because Raiha said, I wish all of you could be my big sister, she's basically kind of like, how the sisters interpret it rather, is that like, we all got a shot at this.
その時はよろしくお願いします。気が早いな、ミクは。
Yeah, Miku, you get ahead of yourself. We got a couple of arcs in the manga to cover.
そうよ、まだ決まってもないわよ。というか譲らないから。
See, all the sisters are thinking like, oh wait, you know, we got this whole like competing for Futaro thing going on?
ライハちゃんがお姉さんって
こっちもこっちで妄想の世界に飛んでるな。
そのお気持ちは嬉しいのですが、急には困ります。
What's going on? Why are all of you excited? Guys?
なんでもありません。そう、なんでもないから。
When she says it's nothing, you know it's something. Well, if you say there's nothing going on with such desperate tones in your voices, it definitely looks like there's something going on. See, Futuro knows what's up.
ふうくんには関係なくはないけど、とにかく気にしないで。
When you tell the guy to not worry about it, he's going to, oh, I don't know, worry about it.
女同士の内緒話ってところかな。ねえ。
And the audience, but sure.
そうそう、内緒話です。素敵な内緒話だよね。はい、そうですね。だからふうくんには秘密。盗み聞きしたら大変なことになりますよ。
というわけでごめんね、風太郎くん。
I understand, though I don't really understand.
お兄ちゃんすねないで。ほら、デザートあげるから機嫌直して。いつかわかるよ。お姉さんたちとの内緒話のことは。
Yo, I didn't get the good ending. This has got to be the end of the route, right? Yeah, I only got the normal ending. What the hell? Yo, the route's already over. We're only 10, 12 minutes in. What?
無人島から無事に帰ってきて、あっという間に数日が過ぎ、私もお兄ちゃんもあの時のサバイバル生活は何だったんだろうって思えるくらいに普通の生活に戻っている。でも私はずっと忘れない。あの島でお姉さんたちと作った思い出を。そしてお兄ちゃんといえば、
This is like the shortest route by far.
よし、この課題は完了だな。なかなか歯応えがあったぜ。
I didn't get the good ending. What the heck? There was only 4 choices, and I screwed up 2 of them.
しかし、勉強が満足にできなかったブランクがあったとはいえ、俺にかかればこんなものだ。
ねえお兄ちゃん、帰ってすぐ課題に取り掛からなくてもよかったんじゃない？本当に大変だったんだし、少しはゆっくり休んでもいいのに。
あのな、ライハ。俺たちはバカンスに行ってたよな。それは要するに遊びに行ってたということなんだ。そして十分すぎるほど遊んできた。だったら今度はその分勉強も頑張らなければならない。
まあ夏休みの終わり間際に課題ができてないって慌てることがないのはいいことだけど、せっかくの夏休みなんだし。
この香り。おお、今日はカレーなのか。
そうだよ。もうすぐできるから待っててね。
Hey Jazzy, welcome to the stream. Is it the finale? Well, I'm gonna backtrack a little bit because I somehow didn't get the good ending to this route. And since we've only just started the stream, I'm gonna go back and try and get the good ending.
おう、出来上がるまでに俺も課題を終わらせておくかな。
バカンスから戻ってもお兄ちゃんはお兄ちゃん。
We got time.
ろいろな経験したことで何か成長したり変わったりしててもいいんじゃないかなって思うんだけど、まあお兄ちゃんのペースでやることが一番いいってことなのかな。でもそのことで迷惑かけちゃったし強く言えないけど、やっぱりこのままでいいのか気にはなっちゃうな。
なんだメールか。いつきか。今度はなんだ。
メールも久しぶりだね。
はあ、まったくあいつらと来たら。
どうしたの？
こんな時に呼び出しとはな。せっかく勉強も調子よく進んでたってのに。ライハ、すまない。ちょっと出かけてくる。
わかった。
次から次へとトラブルを起こしやがって。おとなしく勉強してればいいもの。
頼られてるんだね、お兄ちゃんは。
さあな。都合がいいように使われてるだけだ。
That's because you are.
悪いな、ライハ。さっさと片付けてくれ。
いってらっしゃい。気をつけてね。前のお兄ちゃんならきっとメールを無視して勉強してたよね。課題よりもお姉さんたちが優先ってことは。
But what Raiha doesn't know is that because she wasn't there for it, well, for the bulk of it. I mean, that was the whole thing about, like, the Seven Goodbyes arc. And that's what the sisters saw in him. I've talked about this, like, at least 10 times at this point. So we're gonna leave it alone now.
お兄ちゃんも少しずつだけど変わってきてるんだ。きっと疲れて帰ってくるだろうから、美味しいカレーで出迎えてあげようっと。5等分の花
Yeah, I only got the Raiha normal ending. What the hell?
お兄ちゃん頑張ってね。
No, that... What?
データをロードするよ。
Okay, I got... Oh man, this is way... back? It is. No, this is the beginning of the Raiha route, so I think it's okay. Okay, we went back to the beginning of the Raiha route. I'm gonna try and get the good ending now.
データをセーブするね。
I'm gonna skip some of this though. Alright, this problem is finished. Huh. I wonder if they'll notice this trap. Next, I guess I'll include a bonus question too. Feeling the results of one's effort is also the duty of a tutor after all. Huh, I can almost see their happy faces. Just wait, I'll finish these sneaky summer self-made pop quizzes by tomorrow.
夏の突発問題集？
Ah! When did you get here?
ねえお兄ちゃん、まさかとは思うけど明日からもみんなに勉強させるつもり？はあ。
I honestly didn't have to give that recap earlier.
ねえお兄ちゃん。
Was I taking advantage of their
お
kindness?
兄ちゃん？
Even though we fought and argued so many times, they never abandoned me and stayed by my side. Over time, their kindness to me may have become something that I took for granted. Maybe as Raiha said, I was just sitting on my laurels, relying on their trust.
そこまで分かってるならやらなきゃいけないことも分かるよね。
just gonna speed run this. Maybe this series was the right answer there, but it's fine. You say that, but I don't know how to do it. What is pampering them? Only normal ups?
いつも私にしてくれるみたいにやればいいと思うよ。
Like I always pamper Raiha? Am I really that nice to you?
どうだろうね。
What am I supposed to do with you being all smiley and giggly?
じゃあ今までのやり方は一旦置いておいて切り替えていこう。
What?
次の作戦を考えるからちょっと待っててね。
Hey, you don't have to push yourself so hard. Let's just skip this. This is just like, oh, he's acting weird. He's still acting weird. Let's go to they go to the beach for a bit. In that case, that's great.
このままどんどん行ってみよう。さて次は決勝戦だよ。
相手がいつきちゃん風太郎
Wait, what?
データをロードするよ。本当にゲームデータ。
Okay, so their series was the right choice. I think I wait, what?
データをロードするよ。
Okay, yeah, their series was the right choice. Then I think the second one I got wrong, which is why I got like nothing on the second choice. Which ended up costing me. Because like the Raiha route was super strict. You only had 4 choices to make. And if you miss one of them, you're basically cooked.
まずは私の見とかみんなにだってでも言葉にするのはみんな普段はお兄ちゃんその分次優しいだけじゃなくて
Pampering isn't the way. Actually, kindness is not just about being sweet and soft. I don't want to have that point misunderstood. Huh.
そっか。さすがお兄ちゃん。いろいろ考えてるんだね。
And then you still have to get the last one right.
じゃあ今までのやり方は一旦置いておいて切り替えていこう。
What?
次の作戦を考えるからちょっと待っててね。
Then at the beach, I think I made the right decision when I first did it. Okay, there. I had to manipulate that quite a bit. Then he passes out. And then you have like this part. I thought this part would be longer. And then this part I made the wrong choice when I tried to not say it was Raiha's fault. because I thought that the game was just gonna be like, oh no, you shouldn't make Raiha feel bad. But it's like, the problem is that like it was Raiha's fault, and the story wanted you to basically tell her it was her fault. I've come to understand my limitations.
どういうこと？お兄ちゃんの課題？
This failure was mainly due to a lack of physical strength. I have to reflect on it and come up with a plan to avoid making the same mistake again.
もう、お兄ちゃんらしい言い方だな。
So there's something I want to ask you, Raiha.
何？
It's about the next plan. Why are you so surprised? Weren't you the one so eager to do it?
だって私のせいでこんな大変なことになっちゃったのにまだ続けてくれるの？
And basically the game ends. I didn't think this part would be like so short. I wasn't gonna do the super emotional scene again. Yeah, I went through this whole bit and I thought there'd be more to it, but the game ends here. I was like, dude, that was like really short.
南風ときめき乗せてはしゃごよ夏を一緒に寄せては返す波のようね恋心近くてでも遠くてジタバタしちゃうだから夏休みっていう力を借りて飾らない気持ちを知ってほしいな一つ二つ三つ四つ五つ模様の好きもうどんかんではいられないはずですよ眩しいのは日差しじゃなく悔しいくらい頼もしい君南風ときめき乗せて特別な思い出をはしゃごよ夏も一緒に
今日も暑いな。
You're telling me.
そうだね。まだまだ夏は終わらないぞって日差しだね。
このまま炎天下でぼーっとしてたら倒れちまうぞ。さっさと店に入ろう。で、ライハ、何か食べたいものはあるか？
私いつものファミレスに行きたい。
おいおい、今日くらい別の店でもいいんだぞ。昨日臨時収入が入ったって言っただろ。
Wait, but Raiha is only a start, like, she's a first year middle schooler. She can't go making money.
それってお姉さんたちのお父さんから？
Why is she getting money from him?
ああ、無人島でのことに対してのお詫び。というか、見舞い金みたいなものだけどな。
Well, that's not an income. I got confused. When he said income, that was like, oh, you know, like, you think of like a job, and it's like, well, she's too young to work a job, but...
というわけだ。今日は好きなものを思いっきり食べて豪遊だ。いつものファミレスじゃなくて、分厚いステーキや回らない寿司でもどんと来い。ホテルのレストランなんてどうだ？もしくは高級中華、それとも焼肉屋か？いや、なんだったらはしごしてもいいな。
Don't go too crazy.
そんなに食べられないよ。
ああ、そうか。じゃあ日をまたいで順番に回るか。今日はどこにする？
よし、決めた。いつものファミレスで食べ放題。
はいや、だから遠慮するなって。たまの贅沢も悪くないだろう。
But you know, the reason why Raiha wants to go there is because she set up a thing for the Quints to be there. That's why she wants to go there so badly.
遠慮なんてしてないよ。
I know what you're thinking, kid.
やっぱり普段から美味しいって思ってるものをお腹いっぱい食べるのが一番の贅沢じゃない？それに私が好きなところだったらどこでもいいんでしょ？だったらファミレス。
わかった。ライハが食べたいものを思いっきり食べよう。
行こう行こう。
I'm ready for it. The sisters are gonna be there. What? They're not here.
お兄ちゃん、すっごく美味しそう。
Oh, you can't really see her plate, but let's see what she's got. She's got a Salisbury steak. I think that's rice in the middle, but there's also like noodles on the side. And some vegetables and fries.
やけどに気をつけて食べろよ。
いただきます。
She got the Hamburg steak plate, basically, on a hot plate.
そうか、よかったな。後でデザートも頼もうか。
今日はアイス食べちゃおっかな。
ああ、トッピングも好きなだけしていいぞ。なんならケーキもどうだ。
How much money did they get for him to think like this?
やったね。ありがとうお兄ちゃん。ハンバーグは久しぶりだし、本当に美味しくてフォークが止まらないよ。最高。
一生懸命食べている姿も可愛いな。ライハは。
お兄ちゃん。
どうした？
無人島ではさ、食べ物が少なかったからみんなで苦労していろいろ集めてたよね。少ない食材でなんとか工夫してご飯を作って食べてたけど、あの時の味今でも忘れられないよ。
ああ、俺もだな。満足に食べられなくて生き残るのに必死だった分、何でもうまく感じていたかもしれない。
だからかどうかわからないけど、今日ここで食べてるハンバーグがいつもよりすっごく美味しく感じるんだ。
Yo, actually though, that's actually a trauma response. Kinda not good. For Raiha, anyway.
私、今まで当たり前みたいにご飯を食べてたけど、これって本当は贅沢なことだったんだなーって。
すごいな、ライハは。あの無人島生活でそんな考えに至ったんだな。
こんな贅沢ってあと何回くらいできるんだろうね。ここでお父さんやお兄ちゃんと一緒にハンバーグが食べられるのってあと何回だろう。
Let me just let her cook.
ライハ、
私もお兄ちゃんもこれからもずっと一緒ってわけにはいかないよね。また無人島に閉じ込められちゃうような大変なことがあるかもしれないし。
This Raiha is just trauma dumping. What the heck?
おいおい、何言い出すんだ。家族なんだし、いつだって来られるさ。それに、俺は毎食ハンバーグが食べられるくらい余裕で稼ぐつもりだぞ。
それはすごいけど、毎食は食べ過ぎだよ。
なあ、ライハ。例えば、あくまでも例えばだが、お前が、嫁に行ったとしても、俺が、もしかしたら、 誰かと結婚することになったとしても、お前がここでハンバーグを食べたいって言ったら、周りの誰が反対しようが連れて行ってやる。それは約束する。絶対にだ。
そっか。
本当だぞ。お前が好きなものは何不自由なく食べさせてやりたいからな。ライハが嬉しそうにハンバーグを食べる姿が俺にとって最高の宝物なんだ。
ありがとう、お兄ちゃん。もしかしたら近い将来一緒にハンバーグを食べる人が増えてるかもしれないけど。
Honestly, I'm surprised they're not already here.
お兄ちゃんのお嫁さんと一緒に来るの楽しみにしてるね。
Yeah, the Raiha bit was really short. It's not like all the other endings are like way longer.
5等分の
So I
花
thought like
夏の思い出も
I'd be here a bit longer, but yeah, the game is over. So I guess now I just talk about like what I thought of each route. And I guess we'll start with the Raiha route because it's like kind of fresh in my memory. The Raiha route was really short. It's one of those things that like it really highlights how minor of a character she became throughout the story, because a lot of the stuff that like the problems Raiha causes in the Raiha route was kind of like backtracking from like other character moments in the manga, but the justification is that like Raiha wasn't around for a lot of that because, you know, she's at home. So when Raiha kind of doesn't understand what the sisters really see in Futaro, it's because she wasn't around for that. She wasn't around for the 7 Goodbyes arc. She wasn't really around much for the scrambled eggs, and she definitely wasn't around during the Sister Wars. And in all those moments, in all 3 of those stories, a big part of it is the sisters seeing Futaro's sincerity and how much she actually cares about them. Oh, and of course, like I forgot the build up to the second year final exam. Raiha's not around for that, so Raiha forcing the plot to do something stupid because like, oh, she wasn't around to see it firsthand, and so it's just kind of weird that like I guess they made this story for this game for that, but like I don't know, does it really warrant to have Raiha see that? Does that really warrant making like a 7th route in the game? I don't know. It's interesting to see it from Raiha's perspective, but it's also like just a lot of information you already know from the manga. You're just seeing it from Raiha's perspective, but in a way, there's the popular theory that most of Quintessential Quintuplets story takes place from like it's just Raiha and Futaro recalling the past, because of course like okay, so when the Quintessential Quintuplets came out, I think it was like what 2017 2018, the bulk of the story actually takes place like in 2013, because the wedding the wedding day that the story begins at is actually the present day at the time, which was like 2018, and then the entirety of the story is just flashback, which most of it is from Futaro's perspective and some of it is from Raiha's perspective. And so this game, I think what it tried to do was create that gateway for Raiha to have that knowledge that she would have in the manga, if we accept the theory that like most of the story is just told from their flashback perspective. I think like they tried something with the Raiha story. Did it really land? I don't know, like it's kind of like I really don't care that much because like, oh, you know, just read the manga, right? And you get to see Furuo's character growth in that story, as opposed to like getting a rehash, like abridged version of it here. Did they do a bad job with it? Not really, but I think the story was a lot shorter than I thought it'd be. So it's kind of unfair to say like, oh, it didn't do much because there wasn't much to work with. I'm still gonna have to give it the worst rating out of all the stories because like it had the least to work with, and it was really just a retreading of like the manga arcs just from Raiha's perspective. So Raiha's route goes at the bottom of the 7 routes. The next route I'll talk about is the all route, which is the first route I unlocked. And the quick recap of it is basically the sisters, Yotsuba finds a book and it has like talk about like treasure and stuff, so all of them go like treasure hunting on the island, which is interesting that like because Yotsuba kept bringing that up in the survival section of the game, you think that like that would have been the Yotsuba route, but they did something different with the Yotsuba route. That was interesting, and I'll talk way more about that when we get there. But the treasure hunt idea was kind of neat. Hey, Ahmed, welcome to the stream. But I think the treasure hunt idea in the all route was an interesting idea. And the way that they like have the sisters go up the mountain and then like they find their little crystals that's like rumored to be like the treasure of the island. And then Raiha tries to get one herself, like she leaves the house, which I thought that part was kind of doofy because like, okay, so the game sets up that like the 2 weeks that they were on survival mode, Raiha's not really supposed to ever leave the house because Raiha's a little kid, so they didn't want to endanger her. And then Raiha strangely endangers herself at the end of the story. And that was kind of like a weird like shoving, like shoehorning some kind of like major conflict in the plot. I don't know, I just felt like that part was kind of doofy. I see what they ended up doing with it was like the sisters all like laid their crystals next to Raiha when she was sleeping, and then the crystals like disappear and it's just like weird magic shenanigans all of a sudden. It was a very strange, like the ending of the story got very strange in the all route. Some things I will say about the all route though is that I did like these like photos that they posted in them. Like this one is so good. Like I think this is one of the best photos of the entire game. This is really good. And it's this scene is from when Miku and Nino are looking along the riverbed to see if they can find any crystals on the lower part of the river. And then they kind of reaffirm to each other that they're rivals in love, kind of thing. And them affirming that with this like sisterly fist bump, I think is amazing. This was like the highlight of that story. I really like this moment, and the art of it is really nice too. I don't know, I really like it.
写真を見るの楽しみだな。
And then of course like this one's pretty nice too, where like Miku pokes at something that's like a constant theme in the Itsuki story. I was gonna say the Itsuki stories because this is true of 5 Memories Spent With You, where it's like, well, of course 5 Memories Spent With You takes place after Futaro confesses, but Miku poking fun at like, Itsuki, do you actually have feelings for Futaro? And Itsuki just being like flustered about that because Itsuki's whole thing, and we'll come back to this with the Itsuki when I talk about the Itsuki story, is that like Itsuki constantly wrestles with like how she really feels, because I mean she is the quintessential tsundere of the group, and a big part of that is her not wanting to be honest with her feelings because of the implications it has.
写真を見るの楽しみだな。
I think the story overall was fine. There was some like the ending was kind of doofy. With Raiha like doing something very out of character. And then of course like the crystals disappearing by the end of the story. Like that part was kind of weird. Like it does make the story seem a lot more magical, even though like QQ is not really that kind of story. But I think it's fine. It's not a bad story, but I think like just in general with a game like this, the dating routes are always just better. And so this was definitely true in the other game as well. It's just like the dating routes are just better overall. Although like once again, when I talked about 5 Memories Spent With You, I didn't like that game's Miku story. But in general, like the dating route stories are much better than like the all route where it's just like some other adventure, and it's less about like it's less about the girl's relationship to Futaro, which is kind of what you expect out of a game like this. So with that said, let's talk about each sister route, which I think all of them in this game were actually pretty good. And we'll just go in the order of the sisters, and then after I talk about all 5 sisters, maybe we'll try rating them. But I think in this game, the stories for the sisters were a lot better than in 5 Memories Spent With You. And the reason why I say that is because 5 Memories Spent With You had like 2 bad stories. The bad stories being like My Girl Nino, because I found the ending of that story incredibly stupid. Or not the ending, but like the part of the story that creates the conflict. The ending was a decent resolution in that story, but the whole like Futaro doubting himself about what Nino sees in him, I thought that was incredibly stupid. Like story breakingly stupid. Like it was really bad. And then like the Miku story in that game was really bad. But this game, I feel like the stories in this game were a lot better as far as the sister routes were concerned. I will say that like, okay, like I think about it more, the Raiha route is kind of like incredibly boring and lackluster. But in this game, like, if I was to put like, okay, if I were to compare all the stories between like this game and 5 Memories Spent With You, then like all of the sister stories in this game would kind of be like in the middle between like the really good 5 Memories Spent With You stories. The Itsuki one and like Yotsuba were really good in that game. And then all of these stories would kind of fit in between them if I had to like tier them. But maybe someone could make me like a tier list of like all the stories in both these games. But anyway, sidetracking aside, the Ichika route, I think the Ichika route, okay, so a caveat, and what makes the sister stories interesting in this game is that this game, because it does a weird what if timeline, because in the manga, as I explained several times already, in the manga, during the summer after the Kyoto trip, Futaro doesn't see the sisters for the bulk of the summer because he likes staying at home, 1, and 2, the sisters get evicted from the apartment they were living at. Well, not evicted exactly. It's more like the apartment building gets like torn down, so they have to move back in with their dad. And so they don't see each other. And the problem with that the manga created was that you don't see how the sisters resolved like they just went through like their sisterly conflict and sister wars, and then they had to come to terms with like how they were going to approach Futaro as well as each other knowing that they're like they all have more or less explicitly say they're all in love with him, and that they all have to see each other as rivals. And so the story kind of doesn't show you that in the manga, and then the manga after Sister Wars jumps to like a bunch of decisions the sisters have made during the summer vacation that you don't see. What this game tries to do is create a scenario where the sisters hash that out. Because one, they're still around Futaro, now they're stuck on an island with them for 2 weeks. And so they kind of have to hash that out. And what the story kind of does is like it creates an interesting intermediary bridge between the end of Sister Wars and then what happens when summer ends and they start preparing for the culture festival. So in Ichika's case, I think one of the interesting things was that like in the Ichika story, she's worried about her acting job and how she's gonna keep pursuing her acting dreams while wrestling with her feelings with Futaro. And of course, like her sisters. In the manga, she decides that like, okay, she's gonna actually get out of her sister's ways, which is different from how the game handles it. Because once again, the problem the game presents is that because Futaro's around them for like 2 weeks non-stop, she doesn't get that like clarity of being away from him for a while, which is what the manga provided for them. So here, like Ichika has to constantly be around him while still thinking about like what she wants to do for her acting career. Well, where am I from and what time is it here? I think that's what you mean by when is it. You're asking time. I'm from the North Americas and I'm from the West Coast. If you watch my other videos, you'll notice that I always say like Pacific time, and that's how you know. Like I always say that I start my streams at roughly 2 p.m. Pacific time. Pacific time is the Americas West Coast. Anyway, so back to Ichika. The Ichika story is her like, because she doesn't get that space that she kind of needed after Sister Wars in the manga. This story's her wrestling with like, okay, I know I should take my acting more seriously, but I have all these feelings still, and I can't let them go. And she's constantly arm wrestling these two things: her passion of acting and her love for Futaro that she knows she should be putting aside for the sake of her sisters. And so the story does an interesting arm wrestle between those two things. Whereas like in the other game, see, I shouldn't be comparing it too much with the other game, but in the other game, since Futaro picks a sister at the beginning of each route, the whole like worrying about my sisters part kind of isn't as big a deal because all the sisters respect Futaro's decision. And so in this game, Ichika, it's hard for her to let go because she's constantly around him. I just know you'll be a pro at Doki Doki Literature Club. I am not playing Doki Doki Literature Club ever again. Anyway, with Ichika, because she never got that space, her really thinking about like what is more important to her is an interesting dimension to this story. And I thought that was something that, the manga never explored it because the manga goes the other way, the other route, where like Ichika gets that clarity because she's not around Futaro 2 weeks non-stop. So Ichika has the time to think like, I can live my life without him. And so she's confident in like going after her acting career, which was the bulk of her character. That was the summation of her character arc in the manga. But I do like the Ichika route because, you know, yes, everyone wants to crap on Ichika about like, she was terrible in Sister Wars. She's a bad sister, you know. But I think her and Futaro's interactions are... There's a lot more chemistry between them. And this is where, like, I made fun about this in both 5 Memories Spent With You and this game. You know that, like, Neji, when he was like asked to make the scripts for these games, he was like, I can make routes where like Futaro and Ichika as they were meant to be. And you know Neji was just having a grand old time with it. And you can tell in this story where like there are moments where, you know, Ichika's constantly flustered around him, and you know she wants to be that girl in love again. And the manga, because like the manga obviously went a different route, Ichika had to break away from her romantic desires. But in this game, they really let her play with that, and I thought that the way that like they interact and how organic it is, it's very fun, and I really like that about the Ichika route. Some moments that I liked about it, like there's the part where they're just walking around, like they're taking like the photos during the second day, because Ichika wants to like take a bunch of pictures. And she wants to be able to have like pictures, because basically what the story gets at is Ichika is kind of deciding that she's gonna pursue acting. And even with Futaro around, she still comes to that decision. So it's not like him being around changed that. The decision she's gonna end up making in the manga. Ichika is pretty committed to her acting dreams, and even Futaro can't change that. And that was actually a very interesting way of writing that in this game. But moments where like, you know, she's being a little clumsy and then Futaro catches her, and then her heart just goes crazy again, because that's very Ichika of her. And moments like this are always like very fun to see, and it's very like, yeah, that is who Ichika is. That's who she is at her core. And those parts of the story were some of the most enjoyable parts, I think, of even both in the manga, just like Ichika and Futaro kind of having this chemistry and almost as if they were a couple. The way Neji envisioned it. I think the Ichika route was very well done. I like the Ichika route. It's a lot better in this game than it is in the other game, and I really need to stop doing that. But I can't help it, because like that's definitely true in the Nino route. The Nino route in this game is pretty good. It's just like at first it's kind of weird, because like Nino's approach to everything is just wrong in the story. And once again, it's one of those things that like we don't know how Nino comes to her conclusion in the manga, because the manga never shows it. But like how Nino is gonna be like, I will be aggressive in my romantic advances. And the way Nino goes about in the manga, there's kind of like a gap. It's just kind of like, okay, this is a thing, I like this guy, and then she just goes like, she goes from like 0 to 150 faster than Firebolt, and she's just like constantly flirting with him. In this game, they add an interesting dimension, which actually there was actually something in this game that I really liked that the manga never does. And it's not just in the Nino route itself, but it's like throughout the entirety of the game. Throughout the entirety of the game, like including the survival parts, there's interesting interactions between Nino and Raiha. And the manga doesn't have a lot of this, because most of Raiha's like interactions is with Itsuki. But Nino and Raiha actually had a very interesting dynamic in this game, and I actually really like it. It's the part where like the first time you really see something interesting with Nino and Raiha's interactions is where like you get the first successful cooking, when you have Nino cook a meal and then she gets a success. And there's the whole part where like Nino and Raiha talk about like cooking, And then Nino talks about like all the fancy stuff she does because she has to cook for like her 4 sisters. And Raiha's like super impressed. We're like, wow, Nino, you're amazing at this. And I thought like that was a very cool thing this game did. Cause like, you think about it, Nino and Raiha are very similar people. And I think that adds an interesting like, this is gonna sound super weird though. But like, why Futaro could really like Nino a lot, because Nino has a lot of the same qualities that Raiha has. And it's an interesting payoff even to like, crap, what chapter is it in the manga? Like really early in the story, where, and in the manga this gets dropped, but in this game they kind of bring it back, and I thought it was really neat, is where in the manga, early in the manga, when Futaro stays at the Nakano's house, or their apartment, and there's the part where like Miku asks him what kind of girl he likes, and then he gives him like the 3 qualities. So the first one's like good at cooking, the second one is always happy, and the third one was like loves her brother. And then Josefa gets mad because she's like, you're describing Raiha, you're such a cheater. But in a way, like in that moment in the manga, Nino saw a lot of herself when Futaro was describing the other 2 qualities. Like, well, she's always happy and she's a good cook. Nino is both those things. And so coming back to this game, when Nino tries to act more like Raiha, it's because Nino is trying to be all 3 of those qualities, all the qualities that Futaro quote unquote likes in a girl. But of course, like, remember, this is like early Futaro, right? Obviously his mentality changed, which is also something Nino should be aware of. But I think that was an interesting callback to this kind of story idea that the manga never bothers coming back to. This idea of like the kind of girl, quote unquote, that Futaro likes. And the whole like Raiha and Nino could have an interesting like dynamic as friends, which is never entertained in the manga. But this game actually did a very good job with it. I thought it was kind of neat to see Raiha and Nino interact. And how similar of people they are. Of course there were like those like quote unquote cringe moments where like Nino overdoes it and she's like trying to act just like Raiha, and even calls Futaro like Oni-chan, and he gets like totally thrown in a whirlpool. I mean, they all do. They're like, yo, this is so weird. But of course, like, see, the manga never needed to address this, but one of Nino's like character arcs in this game is the whole like, be yourself. I could just be myself. I don't need to pretend to be someone else to show my affection and to have a guy like me, kind of thing. And so Nino comes to the realization that like, oh, I could just be myself. And then that's kind of how she ends. That's how the story ends. She's just like, well, I'm just gonna be the way I always was. I'm gonna be assertive. I'm gonna be like, you know, prepare yourself, Fukan, kind of thing. And I thought like it was the whole like Nino Raiha thing was actually a very interesting take, because of like, yeah, in the manga you could have seen them being like an interesting interaction between Nino and Raiha that never happened, but the game does allow for it, and I think that was an interesting concept.
写真を見るの楽しみだな。
Alright, the Miku story. Yeah, the Miku story of this game is pretty good. It's about like this bird. Well, basically they follow this bird around, and Miku is unsure of what she, but at the same time, like, Miku's story, it goes, see, I can't go back to the manga. So the bridging process is Miku's lack of direction in life. And, you know, one of the things, okay, the reason why her story in 5 Memories Spent With You is so bad, and why her story in this game is so good, is because Miku's story, in a nutshell, in the manga, is her self-realization that she can find purpose in her life, and her realization of like she has a passion for cooking and she wants to become a chef and all that, and her desire to help people and not be such a shut-in all the time. Like, that was a very wonderful character arc in the manga, and why Miku fans were justifiably outraged why Futaro didn't pick her, because Miku had the most interesting character arc in the manga with that transition from, you know, the shut-in shy girl to like she has a clear vision of what she wants in the future and her capacity to want to help people with that dream. This story in Memories of a Quintessential Summer is her realizing that within herself, and the way that like, oh, you know, at first she has like the opportune moment of like, oh, you know, kind of flirt with Futaro and all that, but she's like, but something else is bothering me and I can't focus. And the reason why she can't focus is because just like everything else in her life, she lacks direction. And so her finding direction in life is it's very well played out in the story that like, oh, you know, like this time in this forest, or this time in like this island, and having the time to contemplate what she wants and talking to her sisters about it. It's like, I don't know what I want. What do I do? And Miku really asking herself and her sisters that question shows that like she's ready to take the next steps in her life because she's already asking the right questions. And by the end of her story here, she realizes that like, yes, I want to help people, and my dream of being able to cook, it allows me to do that. And in her realization that she also remembers, this is why I like Futaro so much, because he reminds me of that. And that was a very well done story. It's not like in the other game, it's like she ends up being like, I don't know, shy about it. It's like, but her realizing what she wanted in life only increased her motivation. That was something true in the manga as well, is that like her realizing her motivation of wanting to help people, and Futaro, because like she sees that in Futaro. Futaro also is like that. Part of his sincerity thing, right? Is that Futaro actually is highly capable of wanting to help people. It's just that Futaro is also kind of like an asshole about it, right? And he has a bit of an ego, as guys do. But when Miku sees that in him, she goes like, yes, I can be like that too. I can help people with something I'm good at. And for Miku to act on that as the story ends, once again, it's like one of the best character arcs in the story. And once again, why all the fans are so mad. Why the fans were so mad that he didn't pick Miku was because like that was an amazing story arc, and then she doesn't win. But you know, Miku's win is her like self-realization, and that's enough of a win, I guess, was Neji's logic. But depending on who you ask, I don't know if that was enough of a win. I don't know. So the bird thing was kind of random, but the whole like Miku as a spirit animal, kind of random. But I think the story played out fine. I think it stuck true to Miku's character arc in the manga, and Miku had a great arc in the manga, and her arc in this game reflects that very well, and therefore her arc in this game is pretty good. So Miku's story, really good.
写真を見るの楽しみだな。
Oh boy, the Yotsuba route. The Yotsuba route, oh man, like, where do I even start with this one? It's just like, it's everything the Raiha route wanted to be, but everything done correctly. it's a rehash of a lot of older manga story beats. It was an interesting, like, especially if you think of it from a timeline sense. Like, in the manga, the Sister Wars ends, and then you get the me and my sisters and me and the boy, and Yotsuba retelling a lot of the earlier parts of the manga in the manga, and then you get that in this game. And I think it was very clever, and it was very interesting. So basically, in the story, Yotsuba, she's not sure what she wants because she's too busy like serving her sisters. It's the whole like me and my sisters thing. So Yotsuba's constantly like wanting to serve her sisters because she's always feeling indebted to them. But then the boy is introduced and she becomes a different person because there's something that drives her. It's Yotsuba's character arc in a nutshell. An interesting way of thinking about it. I didn't think about the right words for it until now. But if you really want to understand Yotsuba's character in a nutshell, the reason why Yotsuba appears like so dualistic, I guess you could say, like she's very dual-natured, is because Yotsuba's story in a nutshell is the constant conflict between what the mind knows it should have and what the heart wants. That's basically Yotsuba's story. It's the mind wrestling with what the mind knows it needs versus what the heart wants. And so Yotsuba, in her head, she knows that like she wants to protect her family, keep them together, and value her sisters. But what her heart wants is she wants love from a guy, a very sincere, kind of dorky, but compassionate guy. That's what her heart wants, and she's constantly wrestling between those two things. And so the story is like it starts off with her wanting to serve her sisters, but then there's like Futaro asks, what do you want in your heart, like on a heart level? And while Yotsuba can't just say you kind of thing, she's like, well, she wants to go out and see the sunset. So Futaro entertains that. Of course, they get washed up, and somehow, magic moment, they survive like a wave crash. I'm like, what's the term for it? A wave crash, a tidal crash. Well, it's not a tidal level, but like a wave crash. And then they go walk through a forest together and find their way back to the villa. And it basically reenacts their childhood time in Kyoto, but them as teenagers. And then, in the moment, they're just kind of trying to make the best of their situation. But after they return to the villa, Yotsuba, being fully aware, is like, no, I can't, like, she arm wrestles with, like, once again, what her mind knows she should do versus what her heart wants. So, like, her mind goes, okay, like, protect my sisters at all costs. But her heart's like, but I want to be with Futaro. He's the most important person. That's what her heart wants to feel. And she's at the end of her story. I thought that was an amazing moment where she's just like, forget. I can't remember this, which is the most thematic of the entire game, because Ken and Rao gotta get the most like the deepest thematic beats in the story. The game is called Memories of a Quintessential Summer, but Yotsuba's story is the only one that deals with forgetting and to give up memories. And that's Yotsuba's constant struggle, is that she in her head she thinks that is what is best, is to forget, is to let go. But sometimes, in the battle of love, it's okay to not want to let go. It's okay to want things, what your heart desires. Of course, like, you also have to face the consequences, and you have to be careful of what the heart desires, because your heart can be tricked. That is also true. But at the same time, you don't just... That's not something to be ashamed of either, if that makes sense. I mean, in a wider scope of, like, understanding yourself as a person, is that, like, well, you have to develop discernment and become wise in knowing what is good and what is right and what is wrong and all that. But the feeling itself is not wrong, is what I'm saying. The feeling itself. You just have to be careful of what those feelings are gravitated toward. And, you know, the pastor in me would say, like, the constant temptation you face is, do those feelings put things over God? That's the constant temptation you face. But at the same time, I would also say that, like, the feeling in of itself is not evil in of itself, if that makes sense. Especially when it comes to, like, things like, in Yotsuba's case, her desire for love from Futaro. Like, that's completely justified. And her wanting that, even if it goes against what she thinks she should be doing for her sisters, that's not wrong in of itself. Of course, Yotsuba's constant battle is how does she bring those two things together? Because she believes that those things are mutually exclusive. But overall, I think, like, them walking through the forest, being lost together, I think it's a very nice story. It's very Yotsuba. It's not the like A-tier story that I gave the other one, like in the other game, where I rated the Yotsuba story the best. I don't think that's true here, but I still think this one was really good.
写真を見るの楽しみだな。
And finally, we had the Itsuki story. This game, I don't know. Like, in this game, I think, assuming that Neji wrote a lot of the script for this game, I think what he tried to do was rectify a lot of the things he did wrong in the manga, or things he wasn't allowed to do in the manga. So in the Ichika, when I talk about, like, the Ichika story, I'm definitely thinking about, like, okay, things he wasn't allowed to do in the manga. Like, really set up, like, Futaro and Ichika as the more boyfriend-girlfriend kind of dynamic between them. In the Itsuki case, I would say that, like, things he did wrong in the manga, but tried to kind of rectify that in this game. Because I think, like, it's easy to kind of... How do I put this? I think Itsuki in the manga is kind of not a good sister. Because as I mentioned before, like, Itsuki serves as, like, the problem girl of the story, where, like, she has to do things that allow for problems in the manga to occur. So, like, I've referenced this like a dozen times, but, like, when Itsuki had all the information about her sisters and Futaro's dynamic, and then she did nothing, which was the cause of sister wars. Like, Itsuki's inaction caused the sister wars. Of course, in the grand scheme of things, like, Neji wrote it to be like a blessing in disguise, because it was a blessing. The sister wars was a blessing in disguise, because if the sisters never confronted each other about their feelings for Futaro, if they didn't deal with that sooner than later, when, like, Futaro had to choose between any of the sisters, and none of them ever got that out of, like, their anger out at each other earlier, then it would only get worse. And so, like, Sister Wars was a blessing in disguise. So Itsuki, her inaction in that story, like, allowed for the sisters to kind of deal with that amongst each other. But at the same time, like, in the manga, Itsuki's constantly, like, sabotaging her sisters too, right? So Itsuki's kind of terrible. But her, because like, how do I put this? Because the manga spent a lot of time making Itsuki the problem girl in later parts of the manga, you kind of lose the whole like dynamic of Itsuki and Futaro being like, but like they become friends because of how similar they are as people. And one of the funny parts about the story is that like, yeah, the reason why they headbutt so much is because they're such similar people. And Raiha, that's another reason why like Raiha likes Itsuki so much, because Itsuki is a lot like Futaro, but a lot more gentle, because Futaro is, you know, he's extremely rough around the edges, especially early in the story. But then because of like, okay, later in the manga, they need, like, Itsuki had to be the problem girl, so like that gets downplayed a lot, and then you don't really see it much anymore, and then Itsuki just ends up being like, she's just kind of there, and it really like, I don't know, made her lose a lot of value as a character. But in this game, the Itsuki story has a lot of them like going back to that whole like them being friends, but they also headbutt a lot. And that's just like fun to see, because I think that was one of the early appeals of QQ, is that, you know, the cute dynamic of Futaro and Itsuki constantly like, they kind of flirt with each other, but they're also really bad at it. And it's meant to be funny, and it's played out very well as like a joke. And just seeing that again is kind of like a nice breath of fresh air.
写真を見るの楽しみだな。
One thing that was kind of, one thing that's kind of interesting about the Itsuki story in this game. Let's go back to that. Part of the Itsuki story is the whole like, once again in the manga, after Sister Wars, Itsuki tries to like keep the sisters away from Futaro because she's kind of scared that like Sister Wars 2 is gonna happen. Which is funny because she caused Sister Wars. Well, she indirectly causes it per se, but like, really it's her fault. And then she kind of tries the whole like, okay, have the sisters like avoid Futaro. But of course, like, it's a really bad plan because like, there's no way that could work. How you gonna get 4 girls in love with one guy to avoid the guy they're all in love with, right? Like Itsuki did not think that through very well. But the way that the story kind of like has Itsuki want to just spend time with Futaro, and the manga dropped the ball on this. It's one of those things that like, where I think Neji wanted to try something with this, but then he like dropped the ball on it, maybe because of like writing, editor restrictions or stuff like that. But basically, like, one of Itsuki's most interesting dynamics in the manga, and the game comes back to it, is when Itsuki tries to like not create problems with Futaro and the sisters, what she ends up doing is like, okay, I'm trying to protect my sisters from him, but then she ends up like kind of taking him for herself, even though she's not fully aware of it, because once again, Itsuki's whole problem in the story is that, and why she kind of fell off as a character later in the manga, was that Itsuki's whole thing is that she didn't realize she was in love with him until it was too late, until the end of the story, and then she just had to be okay with it. But the story plays very well in the whole like, okay, when she does certain things, she's indirectly trying to get him to notice her more. Which was the whole point of the whole like Rena subplot, where Itsuki pretended to be quote unquote the girl he met in the past, named Rena. But then like, yeah, in the manga that gets like completely dropped. Because there's even like a really weird subplot that the manga set up, but there was like no payoff to it. And it was the whole like, Itsuki actually brought a copy of the Rena outfit to Kyoto, and that included like sexy underwear, and then Miku ends up using it later in the story. But there was like this whole setup with Itsuki, and then like nothing ever came out of it. Nothing ever amounted. It never amounted to anything. And those subplots of like Itsuki trying to take him for herself, even though she's not fully aware of her feelings, like that gets forgotten. But this story kind of brings that back, and it's just fun to see. Ahmed, why don't you play games like Resident Evil or multiplayer games like Dead by Daylight, Phasmophobia, or Valorant? Because... Why don't I play games like that? Because I don't feel like it. That's the short answer. I just play like mostly strategy games, but I was playing this just as a break from it, because after I got my ass handed to me in XCOM, I wanted to play something else. That's the short answer, because I don't want to. I mostly only play Dead by... I sometimes will stream on my own channel, but Dead by Daylight is the exception, where like I play on a friend's channel. I co-host on the Toasty Alir channel when we play Dead by Daylight together, and that's the only time I really play it. So if you want to give him a check out, the Toasty Alir, we play Dead by Daylight on Thursdays. Not every Thursday though. It's like some Thursdays. It's like every other Thursday we play. We've been playing it a lot less because like, kind of whatever. As content creator, we do what we want to do, right? He wants to play other games. He plays other games. I play other games. We play what we want to. But we sometimes play Dead by Daylight on Thursdays. As far as the other ones, it's like, oh, like Phasmophobia, nope. No interest. Valorant, no interest. I don't know, I just not interested. Anyway, so back to Itsuki. The story was interesting where like, once again, it does a nice callback to those older stories. The earlier parts of QQ. And Itsuki's whole like, kind of taking Futaro for herself in like their close friendship, and also like trying to keep him away from the other sisters, and how oblivious she is to it. And that was always like one of those weird, like, while it's fun to read and it's like it has a lot of entertainment value, at the same time like it's also partly why like, oh yeah, Itsuki's not a character I got as invested in as much in the manga. But the earlier parts were like, yeah, like they have this flirty headbutting between them. It's very entertaining to read. And so I did enjoy the Itsuki story. Not as much as I did the other ones in this game. So,
写真を見るの楽しみだな。
oh yeah, there's a whole like Itsuki and her mother element, but I find that like don't need to really mention that one. That's kind of whatever. So after analyzing all the different stories, if I had to like rate them, I would put like the Raiha story at the bottom, which is kind of like a shitty way to end the series, because like, oh, I got the weak ass story at the end of this series, but it can't be helped. Then I would put the all route above the Raiha route, like even though like, yeah, it's 7th and 6th, but like 6th place is way higher than 7th place, if that makes sense. Then if I was to go through like the 5 sister routes, I would pick like, probably the Itsuki route is the least of the 5, but I don't hate it. It's not like I disliked any of the 5 sister stories in this game, not like in the other game. But I would still put Itsuki at 5th place, just because like it's more like a callback to the older stories, and it's kind of like, oh yeah, we get to see Futaro and Itsuki kind of butt heads and be like early manga cute version of themselves. Then I would put probably the Nino story in 4th. I know, right? My girl Nino getting like not above 3rd place. Like, come on. But I think the other stories are just better. Not that the Nino story was bad. I think the Nino story it gets points for being like using a most interesting premise that the manga never used, which was the Raiha Nino relationship. I think that was a very interesting concept that this game made that doesn't exist in the manga. But even that cannot compare to like the Yotsuba route. I think I would put 3rd. I think the nice little callback to like them being lost as kids and then them being lost as teenagers and going on a little adventure, just the 2 of them. Because that's what it comes down to, right? It's like Futaro and Yotsuba. It's their story. And just the 2 of them just being together. I don't know, it's the most true to the manga. Then I would actually put Ichika as 2nd place. I know, crazy, right? I like the Ichika Futaro romance that the manga unfortunately had to drop. But Neji, your vision lives. I see your vision, Neji. I think the Futaro Ichika romance is a very well played out one, and in this game it was nicely done. It was nicely paced. I think I don't know. I just really like it. I like their interactions a lot. It's why, like, despite all the horrible things she later does in the story in the manga, like, I made the argument that like Ichika was totally justified. Ichika did nothing wrong. And of course, 1st place. I know, crazy, right? I gave Miku the worst story in 5 Memories Spent With You, but I'm gonna have to say Miku's story in this game is the best story, and the Miku story in this game reawakened, like, yeah, we meme on like which sister's the best sister, and Nino Nakano is the best quintuplet. Still true, but it reawakened, like, yeah, there's a good reason why Miku is the most popular sister. There's a good reason why people were outraged that Miku didn't get picked. There's a reason why people are so attached to Miku in the manga, because Miku has the best character arc in the manga. And going through Miku's story in this game reminded me of that. I mean, yeah, Quint Day was like, wow, it's already been a month. But like, back on Quint Day, I was hanging out with a buddy, because I celebrate May 5th, the 5th, not for Senko de Senko, Senko de Senk, but it's because of Nakano Day. And like, my friends are all like Miku fans. They're all Miku fans. They all love Miku. And the Miku story in this game kind of reminds me, yeah, there's a good reason for that. Because Miku has a great character arc, and this game reminded me of that. Not that I ever forgot, but I think like my appreciation has been restored, if you will. Because sometimes I just kind of let that resource deplete. But the Miku route was really good in this game. I really liked it. I think it was the best story in this game. And then it's such a shame that like because I played the other game first, even though the other game is the sequel. Imagine you play the game in order. Like if I played this one first and then I played 5 Memories Spent With You after. Oh god, good thing I didn't, because I would have been so mad. I would have been so mad that like, how did Miku get the best story in this game and then got like the worst story in the other game? That's also like the craziest like swing. But basically, TLD, the quick recap, it's like Raiha 7th place, All Route 6th place, Itsuki, Nino, Yotsuba, Ichika, and at the top we have Miku for Memories of a Quintessential Summer.
写真を見るの楽しみだな。
Now we got one more set of ratings to do in this game, and and we gotta talk about like the different wedding dresses. I wish I could put all 5 of them at once, like at one time, instead of like I have to constantly scroll through them. But like, I think that Ichika's. Okay, so first of all, the wedding dresses in this game are more like, I don't know. They're not like... I like the larger wedding dresses, just put it that way. Like the full gown. I like the full gown for wedding dresses. And this game doesn't have that, but that's fine, I guess, because like once again, like in the actual story, there's a full gown, and they all wear the same one, and it's a great outfit. But in this game, they don't have that because you can't have that. So they have these ones instead, and I'm like, not that they're bad. I just like the full gown way better. But I'll try my best to evaluate the different dresses in this game. So let's start with Ichika. It's nice. It's got mostly a classic look to it, which I'm definitely a fan of. I like the classic look. So Ichika rocks the classic look very well. Overall, pretty good. If I was to give it a rating out of 5 stars, it's a solid 4. Not quite a 5. I don't know if I even give any of the dresses a 5 because I think Ichika's is one of the better ones anyway. So that's Ichika's dress. Nino's. What do I think of Nino's dress? It's close. It's more like wide phrase, and that's fine. I think the translucent top is a nice touch, but it's not. That's not exactly like, I don't know. This sounds so weird, but like, I like the more exposed top parts of a wedding dress. Like, it doesn't need the transparent top on top of it, if that makes sense. I don't think the wedding dress needs that, but I think Nino's outfit is pretty good. I will have to dock points because of like the extra top that it's kind of unnecessary. Her themes of 2s, you don't really see that as much in her outfit. You just have like the 2 just replaces her butterflies and her butterfly ribbons in her hair. She just has like like 2 flowers put on top of it. Not as much themes of 2s in Nino's outfit. Oh, they go through a lot of different facial expressions. You hit the spacebar. I forget that sometimes. Okay, Miku outfit. Also like closer to the classic, which I like. Her theme of 3 is actually kind of nice with like that little flower. The funny thing is because they put like 3 flowers on the flower brooch, now the brooch looks massive, and the brooch is like kind of it's excessive. It's excessively large for a brooch. Let's just say that. But Miku is rocking the classic look. Oh, sorry, I didn't give a star rating for Nino. Alright, Nino was 3 stars, if I didn't already say that. So Ichika's got 4, Nino's dress gets 3. I think Miku's gonna be a 4. It's got the classic look. See, the extra transparent overdress though, that works. Because it doesn't like add too much to the top. She's got the more open shoulder, which I like. The long sleeve is not bad. I wish you got to see more of like what the sleeves has. But I do like the transparent overdress that goes on top of the wedding dress. I think that part looks kind of nice. See, the overdress works better if she had more of a gown instead of like the more slim fit. Like, imagine if Nino's dress had like the transparent overdress. I think that would have done way better than like Nino with the transparent overshirt. If they just committed and just did it like the whole dress, I think that would have made Nino's dress way better. And it mostly works for Miku. I think think Miku's dress is really nice. It's a solid 4. Might even be the best one. Miku just scoring a lot of points today, I think. It's a solid 4. Maybe I'll come back to it. It's good though. Miku has a really good dress. It's got the nice slim fit, which is fine. The transparent overdress though, I think really sells it compared to the other ones. Although I will have to dock a point so it's not a 5-star because of like the oversized brooch is just kind of silly. Like because the brooch is also too big, it has to be moved up on her shoulder. So yeah, if you look on her right shoulder, the brooch is really high up, and it like realistically on a wedding dress, when you have the wedding like brides like to wear like a brooch on their wedding dress, but it doesn't have to be like, it's usually not that big. It doesn't have to be. But because Miku's has 3 flowers on it, it becomes massive. And it's just I don't know, that part's just kind of doofy. But it's still a good dress, so it's a solid 4.
写真を見るの楽しみだな。
Yotsuba's dress, I think it's a little bit too puffy. And they overplay the theme of 4, because she's got like too many clovers now. Like, okay, first of all, her head said, if you're gonna stick with the theme of 4, you put 4 4-leaf clovers on the headdress. You don't put 5 of them. And then, okay, minus the ribbon part because she's supposed to keep her bunny ribbon, whatever. I'll give that a pass. But I think her dress is now too frilly and too much legs for a wedding dress. It's too much legs for a wedding dress. So Yotsuba's dress is gonna get like down a bit. And why the heck? Okay, see the so you look at the upper part of her outfit, and she has a bunch of like 4-petaled flowers that's supposed to emulate the 4-leaf clover, because you know that's Yotsuba's whole thing. But why is it the shoe clip is now a 5-petal flower? Like you should be consistent. Why did they change that? Why did they do that? It's just super weird. And yeah, her dress is too like puffy, and she shows too much leg for a wedding dress. I get that it's only like a summer shoot as well, but like the slim fit wasn't a problem. And God, the slim fit on a summer day is like super hot. But I don't see Miku and Ichika complaining. So it's not like that is the problem. So I don't want to hear the argument that like, oh, maybe like Yotsuba has a more puffier outfit because like, oh, it's cooler or whatever, right? Like, no. If Ichika and Miku can do the slim fit, there's no reason Yotsuba couldn't have done it. And you don't want to be showing, like, I don't know, I don't like too much leg on wedding dresses. So Yotsuba, I'm sorry, but you are getting a 2 stars. I'm not giving a 1 star because like, I do like the bustier part. I think her bustier is pretty good. But everything else just doesn't work. The too many clovers. Like if it was just 4, okay, like I don't know about the bracelet part, but like on the upper part, on her overshirt, if they only put 4 leaf, see, it's not even 4-leaf clover. It's like now it's like 5-petal flower. See, they're really inconsistent with this, and it really throws me off. If they just put 4-leaf clover, I would have given it a pass. But this is unacceptable. So, like, the only reason why she's not getting a 1 star is because the bustier is actually kind of nice. But it's a lot weaker than the other dresses. Although, like, I don't know, the too much legs might actually bump it down to a 1. I don't know. 2 or 1 stars for... Basically, Yotsuba's dress is not that good. Now that I look at it closely, I'm like, I don't know, it's not that good. It's only like the bustier part, which is like the least important part of the dress. So like, what are you guys even doing? You were doing well for the first 3, and then you like did everything wrong with the Yotsuba dress. I don't know.
写真を見るの楽しみだな。
If I had to compare them to each other, oh yeah. Okay, yeah. There's a reason why I couldn't give Miku the best dress because let's be real. No. Miku might have that. I think the flower thing is a bit too much on Itsuki. I was thinking about it a little bit. Like on the flower parts on the overdress part, on the crap. It's not exactly a train, but like the flowers on the overdress part, that part is good. But the extra flowers on the upper part, like on the veil, that took away from it. I think there's that's too many flowers. But overall, I think the Itsuki one is really good. It's a true classic. You can't go wrong with a wedding dress that mostly looks like this. I decreased the amount of flower theming on like Itsuki's upper body. You would take away a lot of the flowers for the upper body part. Maybe decrease it on the lower body part as well. Like the outer skirt, the outer dress part doesn't need that many flowers. I think they overcommitted when they made this design. But the rest of it is really good. It has the shoulder, doesn't have quite exposed shoulder, but I think I can forgive the sleeve. The sleeve is nice looking though. Like that's a good amount of sleeve. Because like it's the shoulder part, and then it just kind of hangs like a sleeve. It goes over the shoulder, and then you got arm, and then she has the armband, and that is a nice it's a nice happy medium. You got some cover on the arm, but you're not overdoing it. Like you're not doing Nino's thing, which is just like why? You don't need a full cover. But I think that it's like. And then Itsuki's got like most of the classic, right? It doesn't have to be a slim fit. Which I think like, I don't know, with Ichika, it was like too much slim fit. Like this is a nice classic, minus the overcommitting on the flowers motif on the dresses. I think Itsuki has like the most classic look, and I really like the classic. So, the flowers takes it. The flowers ruins it though. What do I rate this? I think it might have to be a 3 because I'm really not liking the flower. I'm not liking this overcommitting on flowers. It's not vibing for me. It's not vibing. So if I had to rate them, I think like Miku is the best dress because Miku's dress is done in a way that's not like they didn't overcommit on some things that ended up ruining it. I think that's the problem with the Itsuki dress. They overcommitted with the flowers and it really ruined it for me. If you just took that, like think of, see I don't know how well you can imagine this, but like if you can imagine just Itsuki without all the extra flowers, just like delete the flowers out of your mind for a second here. I think Itsuki's outfit would actually be really, really good. But I don't know, the flowers just really take it away. It's just way too much. If they had like one flower, I think it'd be fine. Like, this is where you want the shoulder brooch to have like one fancy flower. And that was the downfall of the Miku outfit. The Miku outfit, the brooch overcommitted. But with Itsuki, it's like the whole outfit is overcommitted. I want to look at the Miku one again. Like, see, but everything else just worked here, except the flower. Except the brooch is just kind of doofy looking. But like, Miku's fit, right? It works really well. But with the Itsuki outfit, like, the Itsuki outfit had the right ideas, but it overcommitted on the flowers, and that I don't know. That just doesn't do it for me. I don't know. What do I rate this? I can't slam it down to a 2. Because then I'd have to give Yotsuba a 1. Because Yotsuba's outfit's way worse than this. I think Yotsuba is the worst outfit out of the 5. And if it weren't for this overcommitting of flowers, I would say Itsuki's was the best. But I have to bump her down, like, even below Ichika. Because the slim fit, even though, like, yeah, slim fit is a little bit too sexy, I think, for a wedding dress. I think slim fit is a bit too sexy for a wedding dress. So that's the main reason why I would have to dock a point. If it had the more classic look like Itsuki did, without the overcommitting, like that is the ideal wedding dress, I think. Out of like, you know, full wedding gowns, if you will. Which once again, like, why even bother with anything else? Is probably what you're thinking. But other than the slim fit being like, okay, it's a bit too sexy. I think like Miku's is really good though. It has the right amount of like skin showage. I think that's good enough. I think the overdress concept on Miku's outfit is an interesting one. And see, like, it works with Miku because he didn't overcommit. You do one or the other. You can do a flower motif on the dress itself, or you put an overdress to add a little bit of like dimensional flair, and then you don't add anything to that. You just let the dimensional flair be the effect. And that's why Miku's dress works really well, which I think it's probably the best one because like it's either that or Ichika's. I think Ichika's is really good too. Because like, okay, like I didn't notice that like the side flower. I didn't think about like the side flower thing for Ichika's dress. But at least it's in like it's in a place that's not too bad. Like Miku's is in a weird place. Like, it's like a big ass 3 flower thing on like her right shoulder, and it really gets in the way. Whereas like, I don't know, Ichika's, I think it's okay. She does have a longer train though, which the only downside to that is that like when trains drag, they get like dirty so fast. And I don't know, I might have to dock a point from Ichika. Like it's still a 4-star, but she's not getting the best dress award because I think the train is a bit too long. I might have to give the award to Miku. I think Miku gets the award for the best dress. Yeah, I think I have to give the award to Miku. This is the best dress. So Miku really did like she came out on top in this game for sure. She had the best story. Miku had the best story in this game, and she had the best dress in this wedding shoot. So, congratulations, Miku. You are the best sister in this game. It's a shame. Now I feel really bad about what happened in the other game, because in the other game she's like the worst sister. Oh, maybe Neji like realized that he made this game and was like, crap, I made Miku too good, and then he was like completely character assassinated her in the next game. That's just my conspiracy brain going though. I don't think that's actually true, but knowing Neji, I wouldn't rule out the possibility. Let's just say that. Anyway, yeah, that's it for this game. We have completed this game. What do I think about the game overall? I like it. I really enjoyed this game. Well, I enjoyed both of them. I think like this game had the whole like, how do I explain this? I'm just gonna go back to the fist bump picture because I really like this. I really like this picture, but between this game and the other game, which one do I like more? Because this game had a lot more stuff, like the whole survival mechanic, and it's basically like a resource management game on top of the dating sim, whereas like the other game is just a dating sim. But I think the dating sim one had like, I don't know, while that game is way easier to play, I feel like that game is like way more punishing. Whereas like this game, like I had to deliberately like do stupid things to run into problems. But which one? Oh, like I don't like this game is a nice easy game. It's a simple resource management game, which I'm like fairly good at that with all the strategy games I play. But The dating sim part in this game was very unforgiving, as you saw earlier with the Raiha route. The Raiha route was like super unforgiving. But overall, like, as well as like, you can't justify pay. Like, can you believe this game came out with an original price tag of like 60 USD? I could not justify paying 60 USD for this game. As much as I love the Quintessential Quintuplets, I couldn't justify paying 60 USD for this game. But if the game goes on sale again on Steam, do I recommend you picking it up? If you like QQ, then do it. Otherwise, like, not really, because like, it is a fan game, right? Or not a fan game, but it's a game for QQ fans. That's what I mean. So like, overall, like, it's not that much of a game. Like, I can't say it's a good game out of like, in honest conscience, I cannot say it's a good game because it's just like a resource management underneath a dating sim, and dating sims are kind of whatever, right? I mean, visual novels be visual novels with very low stakes. It's just meant for you to like enjoy reading stories about the Quintessential Quintuplets, getting more QQ content. I mean, I always appreciate the voice acting. They did a good job. I think one of the things that like one of the guilty pleasures I've come out of this game is like, they maybe like Itsuki a lot more, because like I made the joke that like Itsuki is my least favorite sister out of the Nakanos, which is ironic because she's voiced by like probably my favorite seiyuu, Inori Manase. So hearing her be Itsuki though is kind of fun. Like, I like that, but otherwise, like, once again, that's like just like me being a fan of QQ. That's why I like it. But I will still have to rate the game like, I don't know, like a 5 stars, like very mid. I mean, you don't expect much out of like a dating sim. Don't expect riveting gameplay. Because it's definitely not that. But yeah, did I like it? I liked it enough. I to sit through both games in the course of like 3 months. Yeah, I liked it enough. But with that said, this is going to be the end of our Quintessential Quintuplet playthrough. We've played through both games, and I'll probably never touch this game on this channel ever again. So, but with that said, thank you for being here. Thank you for hanging out with me as I go through some dating sims with the Nakano sisters. We'll be playing... the next game we will be playing... I at first was hesitant to do this because it's still like quote-unquote early access mode, so we may have to play the game twice on the channel, but I don't mind. And that's going to be Heroes of Might Magic Olden Era. That's the next game we're going to be playing. And we will be starting right away, like on Thursday's stream. Thursday at 2 o'clock Pacific time, we will be playing Heroes of Might Magic Olden Era. That's the next game we're playing on the channel. I've been looking forward to it. I've only played several hours of it. Not to get too crazy, I don't want to become like proficient at the game. I want to be able to play it mostly blind. Even though like a bunch of people have already done that, and a lot of people have already beaten the early access content. So I'm kind of worried about like, will that playthrough be like a long playthrough? So I'll still play it though, because I really have nothing else to play. For the channel anyway, at the moment. So we're going to be playing Heroes of Might Magic Olden Era starting on Thursday at 2 o'clock Pacific time. The other announcement I have is that we have a new D4DJ video up. It is for Rika of Mermaid. So I have that video up. Don't forget to check that one out. And yeah, that's going to be it from me today. It's a short stream, but I mean, there wasn't very much in this game left to cover. So, I mean, this stream was really just me talking more than me playing anything. But I just wanted to get my final thoughts as I leave this game. So, thank you again for hanging out with me, going through the Quintessential Quintuplets. Memories of a Quintessential Summer. Hope you guys enjoyed. And we'll be back on Thursday with Heroes of Might and Magic. So until then, I hope you guys have a good rest of your day. I hope you guys have a good night. I'll see you guys Thursday. God bless you. So cute.